Well, it's official. I've lost my mind. I bought the cheapest E55 AMG I could find, and I'm road tripping it 500 miles home. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're calling the cops. Hey guys, real quick, a shout out to our video sponsor, mycontactlensprescription.com. Everyone wants to save time and hassle, which is why we've seen a rise in subscription services for everyday items such as razors and coffee. Well, guess what? These guys are now bringing contact lenses directly to your door. They're big fans of the channel and they help make videos like this possible. Check them out at mycontactlensprescription.com. Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive. Special because I'm buying my first Mercedes. I'm buying an E55 AMG sedan. I've wanted an AMG for a long time. Things have just never lined up. I was looking at C63s and E63s, and then I saw how cheap it is to buy an E55 right now. So I will give you the details as we get there, but basically the car is in Pennsylvania and I'm in Ohio, so it's about 500 miles away. I'm gonna hop in a rental car one way and go pick this thing up. So let's go for a journey. I found this car for sale on Craigslist in Greencastle, Pennsylvania, about 500 miles away from my home in Cincinnati. Given the nightmare stories I've heard recently about TSA lines, it seemed easier just to rent a car one way and drive. So I swooped up one and headed on my way. All right, let's talk details for this AMG. When I recently sold my 335i, I was looking for something to sort of replace it, basically a daily driver, something kind of executive and fun and fast and all those things. I'm looking for something under the $16,000 that I sold my 335i for, and I found that E55 AMGs, which is like 2003 through 2006, were super cheap, like super cheap for what you get, because these cars have 470 horsepower and over 500 pound-feet of torque from the factory, like just straight out of the box. It has a 5.4 liter supercharged hand-built engine. They're incredible values per dollar, in my opinion, in the used market, which is why I'm swooping one up. Now, the specific one that I'm getting is a 2004 model, and it has been lightly modified, which we can go into more in a little bit, but it has an exhaust, it has a tune, and it has a bunch of recent maintenance is really what drew me to this car. It's got 180,000 miles on it, which is quite a bit, but these cars are actually pretty reliable, and these engines are pretty bulletproof if they've been well kept. Now, I had the car inspected, and the shop that inspected it said it's in incredible shape. Like, they were like, if I had money, I would buy this right now. The dude over the phone literally told me that. So I'm super stoked to drive it. I haven't been in the E55 in a very long time. Fingers crossed that it's a good one when we get there. Most of the journey was on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, which, if you haven't been on it, isn't terrible outside of the fact that obviously you have to pay for it. Fortunately, it's not dead straight like a lot of highways and offers some decent views, even though it's winter here in the Midwest. About 7.5 hours later, I'm almost in Harrisburg. It's time for me to stop and get some gas, kick this rental car to the curb, and then my dude in the E55 is supposed to be meeting me at the rental car place. So fingers crossed it's a good one. I'm super anxious and excited. All right, I just dropped the rental off, and look at this for timing. Sun. It's about time. It's the first time I've seen sun all journey. Let's go find this AMG. When I saw the car pull up, I knew it was a winner. The seller was awesome throughout the entire process. You never really know what to expect when you deal with people remotely, but this guy was great. We went on a test drive, and then I happily handed over the money. Well guys, here we go. This is now my car. This is an E55 AMG 2004. And I just went on a quick test drive and decided to buy it. I had a pretty good idea of the representation of the car because I had it inspected before I drove all the way out here, but I just want to give you guys a quick tour of this thing. It has 188,000 miles on it, so it's got a ton of miles, but it seems like it's been pretty well kept, and I'll eventually show you the engine bay here, which is the beauty part for sure. It has E63 wheels and E63 front end conversion, so that's why the front end looks a little more aggressive than most E55s. I really like the color. I believe it's called Cuban metallic or something like that, or Cubano or something like that. Cubanite.
Swanson? Maybe it's on the briefcase. Look on the... Oh yeah, it's right here. Samsonite. I was way off.
That's what it is. It's sort of like a pewter. Let me show you guys the inside. Excuse like all this crap everywhere, and my Wendy's cup is falling over, but it's fairly clean on the inside. Held up pretty well, at least the leather has on the seats for 188,000 miles and 14 years old. I bought a bunch of parts with it too. Brand new brakes, accessory belts and stuff. The guy that owned it before me, this is his third E55 AMG, so he kind of has a thing for these, and I like to buy that kind of stuff from people because they know these cars inside and out. He did a ton of maintenance work, which I'll go into later on this thing, so hopefully it'll be pretty good for me for the most part. Obviously it's almost 200,000 miles. There's gonna be some things that come up, but I know more than anything you guys just want to hear what this thing sounds like, so let me fire it up for you. Oh, but before I do that, let me show you guys the engine bay real quick and just show you how clean this thing is. Boom, look at this. It's beautiful. He replaced all kinds of stuff, like all these drive belts and stuff. He replaced the power steering reservoir, like oil filter housing gasket, valve cover gasket, because he did so much stuff. And this thing is super clean looking under the hood. But once again, let's just get to the exhaust. Sounds pretty good, right? All right, let's take this thing for a drive and I'll give you guys my initial impressions. Before it gets too dark, I want to give initial impressions of the car as I've just got it like a half an hour ago. The first thing that you'll notice, honestly, is the transmission, because the transmission is like just an old slush box. So that's probably the biggest disappointment. We don't often start with the bad, but the transmission is fine. Like, it's just a traditional automatic. So coming from something like a ZF8, it feels kind of sluggish, but that's the only bad thing I can say, because otherwise this thing feels super solid, especially for 188,000 miles on it. And this engine is a beast. Like, God, it's fast. So I obviously have a GT350, if you guys have seen it on my channel, which is also a fast car, but the GT350 has a lot of horsepower and not a lot of torque. So it doesn't have a ton of low-end power, so it doesn't really kick you right in the ass like down low. Whereas this car has torque everywhere. So you put your foot down and it just goes. And it also sounds very, very angry. It's very AMG-ish. And the supercharger, I wish there was more supercharger whine. Maybe I could do something with the intakes or something, and that would help that out. I would love to hear more of that. You know, the car rides really well. One thing I forgot to mention in the that little intro is that another big problem point on these cars is they have air ride from factory, and that always breaks. So people spend a lot of money either refreshing that system, or they just delete it. And that's what the previous owner of this car did. This car has BC coilovers on it. And I've had BC coilovers in the past on like 240s, and they were fine, like they were pretty stiff. So I definitely fully expected this car to be like really stiff and kind of ruined over the air ride, but I'm pleasantly surprised that it actually still rides really, really well. It's not wallowy like air ride cars that I've been in that kind of just like float down the road, which, trust me, has its place, great for comfort and everything, but this feels honestly great with the BC coils. I'm really, really shocked about that. I'm looking down and I'm seeing 18.8 miles to the gallon, so we'll see how much lower I can get that on my trip home. You know, as with any German car, it cruises awesome on the freeway. I haven't been able to take it on any twisty roads. Not that that's really what this car is for, but I'm super happy with the purchase. It's exactly as described, and for under $7,000, I'm not sure you can buy a better car in this category. Let's get on a little bit here. Jesus. Before I sign off here, the plan for tonight is I'm not going to be able to drive 8 hours all the way home to Cincinnati tonight, so I'm going to stop over in Morgantown, West Virginia. Part of the reason I'm actually in a semi-hurry to get back is tomorrow it is supposed to like be this really bad snowstorm, and the only problem with this car is that a few days before I came to get it, the windshield wipers stopped working. So I guess the windshield wiper motor burnt out, and I don't have windshield wipers, which doesn't really sound like a big deal until you're driving in the rain or snow like I was today. Pray for me, guys. Let's head to Morgantown and see what's up there. Places I didn't think I would be. In the Wally World parking lot. My windshield is so bad, I had to stop and get some Rain-X because this no wiper situation in this wet, it's not really raining, the ground's just wet, which is like the worst scenario because it just like missed the windshield. If it was more water, it would bead off. So here's the situation. I'm like an hour and a half from Morgantown, and I'm just gonna press on here. Hopefully it dries or something. Well, this is like the last I'm gonna film for tonight. It's just too sketchy. I don't know if you guys can see that windshield, but I just can barely see anything. I'm just trying to stay like in the fast lane and not be behind anybody. Like if I get to the right with all these trucks, there's just a bunch of crap gets on my windshield. I've already had to stop twice to clear the windshield off. It's just a disaster. I'm gonna stop filming for now. Hopefully the next scene is me there. That was quite the experience. One of the more sketchy things I've done in a car in a while. It wasn't terrible, but obviously not ideal when you don't have your wipers. I'm going to go and grab a beer at the first bar I see in Morgantown and then crash for the night, and then tomorrow morning we'll wake up and finish the journey. Now tomorrow there's a winter storm coming, so I'm gonna have to get up pretty early and try and miss that. Hopefully that all goes well, but we're also gonna talk more about the car, go into more of the mods and all that stuff. So continue watching. I'm gonna go crash for the night. We'll see you in a minute. In the morning, I was faced with a decision. There were two different routes I could take home.
Given the imminent winter storm, I decided to take the slightly longer southern route, hoping that I would stay south enough that I would only see rain. With the car filled to the brim with fuel, I hit the road hard.
So how about that performance, eh? This is whoa, a pull from 60 going uphill. It's just a freight train. There's no other word for it. The power is just like, it has so much torque down low, and it just stays, that torque curve is not really a curve, it just stays flat and just frickin' pulls. It's kind of scary, actually, like, because I'm not quite used to the car. Now, let's talk about modifications that this thing has that makes it just a little bit faster than stock. So stock, these cars had 469 horsepower and over 500 pound-feet of torque, which is quite a bit. Obviously, especially in 03, 04 when these cars came out. I think they were the second fastest car under $100,000, or maybe the fastest car. I forget what that stat is, but they run like 12.5 stock, which is cooking. They're very fast. So this thing has long tube headers. I don't know the brand of the headers, but long tube headers on these cars make like 40 horsepower, legitimately. They're known for making a ton of power, and it has a full exhaust, from the header back. Faberg exhaust, I believe is the name. I guess they made exhaust for these cars for about 2 years and then stopped selling them for whatever reason. But I guess they're mildly desirable in the used market. People want them because there's really just like Chinese junk is made for these cars now. It also has a Race IQ tune. I'm not super familiar with Race IQ, but the car drives pretty well on this tune. I think it is running pretty rich, but rich is safe, so that's fine. It's easily making over 500 horsepower now, and according to the previous owner, he thinks it'll run in the 11s, which, I mean, I believe him. It's got at least 50 horsepower over stock, and if you put some sticky tires on there, I could believe it on a good day. Now, these cars do have a bit of a problem with heat soak. Heat management is an issue. Not so much that they won't work, they'll continue to work, but it will pull a lot of power when the intake air temperatures get kind of on the higher side. Other than that, I mean, the car comes standard with some nice features that aren't really a big deal these days. Every car has them, even basic cars, but in 03, 04 were pretty nice to have. It has Bluetooth. It has the one-touch lane change, where it just blinks 3 times. Once again, very standard now, but this wasn't very commonplace back then. Everything works. The heated seats work. It's been a pretty enjoyable experience. I'm doing basically what this car is made for and just bombing down the highway. It's quiet. There's almost no wind noise whatsoever. A little bit of road noise. Could mostly be the tires. These are, I've always thought Michelins are kind of on the louder side. It is also very cold too, so the tires are hard. But overall, this thing is a performance monster for sub $7,000. I was just shooting the intro for this video in a abandoned Long John Silver's parking lot, and next door there was a little diner, and the lady started yelling something. I don't know what she was yelling about, but I'm pretty sure she was calling the cops.
Right after I did that burnout, the rain finally arrived and stayed with me for the rest of the trip. Fortunately, the Rain-X did its thing and I was able to make it home safely. Home at last. I am so happy to be home. It was a bit of a stressful journey. Obviously not a good idea to drive without wipers. Would not recommend, but the car made it. Sitting there looking good in the rain at least. But happy to be home. I hope you guys enjoyed the journey. I really like this car for what it is, like awesome cruiser. I think it's gonna be a cool daily. And since it's German, it's gonna break on me and I'm gonna get to make videos fixing it for you guys. So happy to have you like and subscribe if you enjoyed this kind of content. If you want to check me out in between episodes, check me out on Instagram at Eat Sleep Drive TV. Otherwise, as always, I appreciate you guys watching and I'll see you on the next episode of Eat Sleep Drive.